And hey there, it's me Mudlink and welcome back to some more of the Great Ace Attorney Adventures. So last time, we finally found out the identity of the mysterious woman that Ryunosuke claimed that he saw. And yeah, here she is. Now she's able to actually speak in Japanese to us. And we're going to be taking down her testimony. And this is actually the last testimony. But trust me when I say, this case is nowhere near over yet. Hi! His hand was on the steering hot plate for at least 3 whole seconds. You can't not have noticed. Do you think so? Let me ask you something. Sorry. Ever since I arrived at this courtroom, and even still now, the fly on those unsightly black trousers of yours have been wide open. You can't not have noticed that. You can't not have noticed, can you? Huh? What? Ah! How couldn't you even see that? What fun! You hadn't realized. The dear lady is absolutely right. As your friend, you embarrass me as well as yourself, Ryunosuke. Why didn't you tell me? Dr. Watson was a true English gentleman. He chose honorable silence over a vulgar scream. Can your tiny brains imagine such a thing? Oh yes, I think my tiny brain can. Well, I can't. Anyway. I'm gonna go over this right now. Just quickly. They really toned down. It sounds bad right now, but trust me when I say they fucking toned it down. The racism. For what reason? I don't understand. Like... Actually, no, I understand, because us filthy gaijin apparently can't handle that. Simple as that. That's really the only explanation I can think of. Or... the localizers in Capcom are like, but the English localizers are like, you know, maybe we shouldn't, blah blah blah, you know, we're a bunch of sensitive pussies, you know, this whole game has a fucking whole bunch of racism in it, but, you know, we can't accurately depict it because apparently depictions of racism shouldn't be accurate. Like, those are the only two explanations I can think of. Which ones are more credible, though? It's hard to say. So localizers can be pretty shit like that, and the Japanese don't really like us too much. They don't like Westerners too much. Despite copying a lot of stories from us. But enough about that. We don't need to talk about that right now. Let's just continue with that. Need to get that off my chest. Because you're gonna notice, I mean, a lot of people did notice, and they're like, especially if they played the Scarlet Study version, where she flat out called, like, she calls people, it calls the Jap, like, they flat out use the word Jap. Call you yellow and all that. Call you monkey too. Just... I actually suggest playing, like, at least the Crimson, I mean, you can only really play this the Scarlet Study version. If I say Crimson Scarlet, I think it's something else. You only really play the Scarlet Study version of the first game, because the second game never finished. They never saw a reason to finish it. I guess, yeah? Alright, anyway. As you testified before, you were drinking carbonated water, is that right? Dr. Watson was only permitted to drink water at that time, if you remember. She explains why he ordered that drink. Correct, waiter? Exactly as you say, sir. Although, whether or not the professor actually drank any of the water when I delivered the steak to the table. I'm afraid I don't remember that. Damn you. I have enough English to understand that, at least. The benefit of others in the court, it means, bless you. I think it means the exact opposite. Anyway. As far as I've heard, why am I fucking reading it again? I gotta stop doing that. I already fucking read it. Yes, it's written here in the paperwork. Fatal hemorrhage from ballistic trauma. Yes. Luckily for all of us, a little burn on the wrist isn't going to kill us, as there were no other signs of trauma on the victim's body to indicate some other cause of death. It can only have been the bullet from your gun that put an end to this innocent man's life. But it doesn't make any sense. The burn must have happened straight away, when the plate was first brought to the table by the waiter. Yes, that's true. If it had cooled even slightly, it wouldn't have been able to make a burn like that. And if the victim burnt his wrist on the hot plate as soon as it was brought out from the kitchen, Then he must have already been dead at that point. And yet the fact is that the victim was killed by a gunshot to the chest. So you're able to show the court evidence to disprove that. This is a complete waste of time. I concur. Prosecutor Ouchie is right. Ah. Without leaving a trace. If someone is shot, or strangled, or stabbed, or thrown from a height, however a person's life is taken, there are always telltale signs. Telltale traces on the body. Quite right, dear lady. As our police forces thoroughly examine the body of the deceased, there can be no doubt. Isn't that right, Inspector Hosonaga? As I've said, I always aim for a flawless investigation. There would be physical traces with all those causes of death. That's true, but maybe there's some other way of killing someone that doesn't leave a mark. If heaven forbid you doubt me, young man, you're going to have to tell everyone how exactly you think the professor did lose his life. Otherwise, I'm afraid your argument falls rather flat, doesn't it? Oh no, perish the thought. Calling such a sweet young lady's innocence into question? On my honor, I, Takatsuchi Ouchi, will cut down any who dares cast such aspersions. A way of killing someone that leaves no trace. We need some evidence to back us up here. Yes, evidence. Inferior, what do you mean by that? In the lands of the great British Empire, the police store everything found at a crime scene for later examination. But in this country, you investigate once and that's the end of it. Isn't that so? Quite right. The Carnival is open for business as usual today, just days after the incident. Exactly, which means that even if the investigation takes a different direction, vital evidence may be lost. It doesn't even occur to your naive detectives to try to preserve the crime scene. I'm trying to be as tactful about this as I can, you understand. A killer blow. This lady is as formidable as she is beautiful. Amazing. Yeah, he's actually admitting our police may be flawed. Perhaps Prosecutor Ouchie has finally started to see sense. I very much doubt that. Still, there's something about what Miss Brett just said. There was a moment before when something didn't seem quite right. What do you think, Ryunosuke? I think it's going terribly. No matter how much I pressed her, I'm not turning up any new information. Yes, as I suspected, she's a tough witness. We need to find a way to break her testimony, or the cross-examination will be over. But that would mean I have to find a way. There must be some clue somewhere to help us find a chink in our armor. Kazuma? What, Ryunosuke? There is one thing I noticed. Something that's been bothering me. Bothering you? You mean Miss Brett? About Miss Brett? Actually, no. About the person standing next to her. The Inspector Hosonaga. The detective. She seems to react a little strangely to Miss Brett's last statement. Let's say fucking Miss Breast. Awful slip of the tongue there. I was wondering if it might be significant. If I might present an opening, maybe. Alright, I have an idea. Try pressing her on that last statement one more time. If you think so, but this time, instead of targeting the woman herself. Let's see what we can get out of the detective. Alright then, wonder what Kazuma's thinking. Find out soon enough, I suppose, once I press Miss Brett on her last statement again. So here's another thing. This was a mechanic introduced in the Professor Layton and Phoenix Wright crossover. As well as they also introduced multiple witnesses. This game does a fucking much better job than that game. The last fucking case, I kid you not, has like 8 fucking actually no, I think it's either 8 or 10 witnesses that you have to do at once. And in the beginning, the first case, in the second case, really, it's like 3. It's a maximum of 4. It's stupid. It's awful. This game does a much better job of doing this mechanic. Also because anytime there is a pursuit, it does actually lead to things. Instead of the other game where in the last case, you can find dead ends. You have to continue pursuing it. Even on the certain statement, you have to wait longer for the next pursuit so that you can, get something else out of it. It's annoying as shit. The third case is especially bad with that kind of mechanic there. Yeah, we're just gonna repeat the same thing again. So they're just gonna say the same thing again, yeah. He's coughing there. Yeah? Yes, there it is again. The detective's reaction is just the same as before. Why? Up until now, the detective has been in the stand with Miss Brett as her interpreter. But things are very different now. With this testimony, the detective is just listening to what the Englishwoman has to say. It could be a golden opportunity. What do you mean? When people are actually testifying, they're usually very careful not to let anything slip. However, when they're listening to someone else speak, you find they often let their guard down. You're right, look at him, he's lost in his own thoughts. It's time to pursue the man in his train of thought. Sorry, pursue? I'll explain how to do it now, Ryunosuke. I'll have to do with the witness marker. What marker? At the moment, we're focused on Miss Brett, who's the person actually making the current statement. But by moving the marker left and right, you can turn your attention to other people in the stand. While you're looking at the other witnesses, you'll be able to pursue them with A. If you can catch the person at just the right time, you might uncover some new information to pursue. You can actually still do this. You can pursue even though they don't have any exclamation mark on them, but it doesn't really lead to anything. You don't get any penalties for it either, so don't worry. If you ever notice a strange atmosphere amongst the people on the stand, take a good look around. Right then, first I should move the marker across with left and right, and then focus on the detective. Then pursue him with A, and see what's on his mind. Here we go. So she's gonna repeat herself again. Giotto! What's the meaning of... He's screaming, yeah! I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to shock you. He really was lost in his thoughts, deeply. It looked like you were thinking about something just now, Inspector. Perhaps having heard what the ladies next to you had to say. If there's something you'd like to say, please, share it with the court. What is the meaning of this? It's a delightful Englishwoman who's testifying at the moment. If you can't find fault with her testimony, then the cross-examination should be over immediately. Oh, is that how it works? Absolutely not. The detective is in the stand, which makes him a valid witness. Yes, not to mention the fact that he's intimately involved in the case. Inspector Hosonaga. Yes? Do you have something to add in relation to the statement just made by Miss Brett? Oh, fucking Christ, Miss... Fucking water, I'm sorry, it's disgusting. Even closing my fucking mouth, you can still hear it. Yeah. Well, yes, if you don't mind, I'd like to speak. Yeah, since she's the last person to show up right now, I'm just gonna show off that. Giselle Brett, 24, British exchange student who was studying under the victim at Yuma University's medical school. Just to show that right now. The lady is right. Our country's police practices are not as modern as those used in Great Britain, which is why I, Satoru Hosonaga, always strive to make every investigation I'm involved in flawless. What do you really mean by that? I'll tell you what I mean. I won't have evidence lacking on my watch, but I'm not afraid to take everything I can from the scene of the crime. It's preserving evidence, you see. I don't care if they call me a crime scene thief. I'm not ashamed of what I've done. A crime scene thief? Well, it looks like the lady's remarks touched a nerve there. Take this, for example. This is the bottle of carbonated water that I took to the victim's table on the day in question. And yes, it's lost all of its fizz, having been opened 3 days ago now. But it was carbonated water. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, there's some left in the bottle. I can see it. One day our police force will be among the best in the world. The time is coming. I guarantee it. I can't say I condone the witness's actions, but I do understand their sentiment. The court will accept the glass bottle of water as evidence. Miss Brett, can you confirm that this is indeed the bottle from which you drank on the day of the victim's death? Yes, it was that bottle. What was that about? She seemed to avert her eyes when she answered the judge's question. Very well, counsel, you may resume the cross-examination. And the inspector will kindly control his fervor. So now what you do, you gotta investigate this carbonated water. Just examine the water in it. So this carbonated water is the last drink Miss Watson ever had. Looks like there's a little left in the bottle, although it's just plain water now. You know, I've been sweating so much I'm absolutely parched. I'll just have a sip of this to keep me going. No, Ryunosuke, you can't do that. For one thing, that's evidence. You can't go drinking evidence. Oh no, you're right. We don't know what it might be inside, do we? You never cease to amaze me, Ryunosuke. More ways than one. I wonder, could there be anything in this water? What's the matter? You've gone quiet all of a sudden. I think I might have just worked something out. An interesting possibility. So now you go to statement number 4. Hi! What is this? The bottle of water? Actually, there is one method of killing a man without leaving a trace that comes to mind. Obviously, I'm referring to poison. Poison? On the day of his death, we know that Dr. Watson drank from this bottle of carbonated water. Could it be there was poison inside? Could it be that the professor actually died after taking a sip from his glass? Order! 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 On that day, who was sitting at the same table as the professor and able to slip the poison into his drink? There's only one person who could have possibly done it. Giselle Brett. It was you! This is outrageous. This is outrageous. To suggest such a thing without a scrap of evidence. You little rookie imbecile. Have you even considered the delicate situation our country finds itself in now? Have you forgotten that we have only just signed an accord of friendship with the British Empire? Have you even the vaguest inkling that your rash accusation could jeopardize the entire treaty? This is not a political arena. This is a trial to determine one individual's guilt with respect to one crime. What? The fact that this woman is British makes no difference. We're here to determine the truth. If I may, I will silence you forever for this disgraceful act. It is you who should be silent. I will silence you forever for this disgraceful attack on the lovely young... Of course. Dear lady! Where did that come from? She just snapped. I'm afraid I may have spoken unfairly before. I offer my most humble apologies. Sorry, my lady. I'm sorry, my lady. To what are you referring? I described your police force as inferior. But no matter how inferior they may be, you still investigated this particular point thoroughly, I believe. The bottle, I mean, Inspector. And whether it contained poison or not. Of course. You did? Have you forgotten what my guiding principle is already? I strive for a flawless investigation every time. I don't believe it. Naturally, we tested the inside of the bottle and its contents. And what did you find, in this, Inspector? I ordered a test for every toxin that's available in this country at the present time. We could find no trace of poison of any description in the bottle of carbonated water, Your Excellency. What? Are you sure? The tests were meticulously carried out by the chief coroner himself. No. No! I'm very grateful to all of you Japanese. You've successfully established my complete innocence in this horrid affair. Thank you. But of course, dear lady, the pleasure was all ours. I was so sure. This can't be right. Everything falls into place if he was poisoned. Thank you, counsel. I think that cross-examination has clarified everything. Clear my throat a bit. As the prosecution have asserted, a shot to the chest from this gun is the only conceivable cause of death. Furthermore, the accused, who by his own admission was holding this weapon, is the only possible culprit. I'm done for. The court wishes to apologize for the great inconvenience this has caused you, Miss Brett. Oh no, I'm just glad the matter is resolved. Before proceeding, I must ask the counsel for the defense. Do you have any further new evidence to present the court at this point? Kazuma? I'm sorry, Ryunosuke. I have nothing more. Well, if you'll excuse me now, I really must be leaving. Please, wait. Isn't that... What is the meaning of this? Forgive me for intruding on court proceedings, Your Excellency. Susato Mikotoba, Judicial Assistant to the Defense. And yeah, there you go. 16. She does not look 16. Whatever. Mikotoba? In my darkest hour, with nowhere left to go, she appeared like a bolt of lightning. And in her hand, she carried a small package, wrapped in a furoshiki cloth. Part 3, baby! So now it's 1:14. Well, I understand that you are the judicial assistant to the defense, but why this sudden ingression into my courtroom? A judicial assistant and a woman, no less. The rules state, the females are not permitted into this court of law other than to testify. Yes, I fully understand. I ask only for 5 minutes of time. I have some vital evidence that I must hand over to the defense. You're too late, little girl. The trial has already been concluded. 5 minutes. I will not allow a moment more. But, Your Excellency! I am most grateful. Who exactly are you? I'm sorry, there is no time. Please, simply accept this for now. What is it, a report about something? Written in English. It's Giselle Brett's research. Englishwoman's. After the trial resumed earlier, I hurried back to the university. I went to Dr. Watson's laboratory in the medical faculty and borrowed this paper. Oh yes, that's right. Miss Brett was studying under the professor, wasn't she? So does this research, whatever it is, have something to do with the case? I'm afraid I don't know. I haven't been able to listen to the proceedings of the trial myself. Oh no, of course not. Special characteristics of Curer, however you fucking pronounce that, and its effects on human subjects. Interesting. Curer, what's that? Never heard of that. I never heard that word before. Time's up. Prosecution demands the immediate removal of this female trespasser from the courtroom. There was too little time for me to read it in detail, but I've summarized what I could on our note just inside the cover. If you think it could be valuable, please cast your eye over it. This is wonderful, thank you. Goodbye then, and good luck. So you can examine it. You don't need to do it right now, but You don't actually need to do it, but it's better to read it, just to show you. Synopsis. A poison made from the bark of certain trees in the jungles of South Africa. The hunters of the region have used it since ancient times to incapacitate their prey. Effects. Instant paralysis of the entire body and subsequent death, even in minute doses. Route of entry. The above mentioned effects occur when the poison enters the body through a wound, such as that inflicted by a blowpipe dart. Practical applications. Due to its ability to render human body paralytic, it's believed that the toxin could have application as an anesthetic. However, a solution for the respiratory arrest caused as a result of a full body paralysis must be found first, or patients would die of suffocation. Goodbye then, and good luck. Well, you already read that. Fuck, I'm stupid. Finish drinking my water. Ah, there we go. You've had long enough, Counsel. We cannot detain our English guest any longer. As to the prosecution and the defense now one last time. Does either side have any further evidence to present to the court? I presume not, but... The prosecution has made its case convincingly enough already. Nothing more to add, Your Excellency. We're out of options here. This really is our very last chance. Yes, I know. Your Excellency, the defense does have new evidence. That look. The unyielding stare of a true Japanese warrior. Well, Miss Brett? Yes, Your Excellency? If you wouldn't mind, perhaps you could grace us with your presence a little longer? It's a delightful invitation, but I'm afraid... It's not so very long until tea time. I'll have to politely decline. Forgive me, Miss Brett. It seems I wasn't clear. I realize it was phrased as a question. However, I must ask you to treat that as an order. I've said it many times before, but the Japanese language makes no sense. My apologies, dear lady. So, Counsel, what is this new evidence that demands the court's attention? Miss Giselle Brett, we understand that you were studying under Dr. Watson at Yuma University doing research. Research, by sheer coincidence perhaps, into a deadly poison. What? Poison? Where are you going with this, Counsel? Toxin known as Cura, Your Excellency. Even the slightest amount of this deadly poison entering the body leads to instant death. What complete and utter nonsense! Cura, you say? Never even heard of it. You wouldn't have done. What do you mean? I mean that you wouldn't have heard of Cura before for one very simple reason. It doesn't exist in our country. Doesn't exist? Correct. Which means, no matter what test the police can do for toxins, they'd never identify Cura. Why? Because there is no test available here that can identify the presence of this highly deadly poison. What? Order! 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 Counsel, does this deadly poison truly exist? According to this report authored by the visiting research student from England, Cura has long been used by the tribespeople of South America as a poison to lace their arrows. Seems that it was reasonably well known among European doctors and scientists. To lace their arrows? The report states that it was produced from the extract of a tree that grows deep in the Amazonian jungle, and it was first brought back to Europe at the turn of the century by explorers. It claims that animals shot by arrows laced with Cura suffer instant death. Doesn't that sum it up, Ms. Brett? Trumpery! These aspersions are utter trumpery. To start with, if the victim had been administered some of the so-called deadly poison, he would have been squirming and writhing in pain, and the other diners would have surely noticed. That's true. What would you say to that, Inspector? Obviously, I would have noticed a disturbance like that. I don't remember anything like that either. I didn't notice the professor being in any kind of pain. According to this, however, it's the other way around. What do you mean, the other way around? The very fact that the victim didn't show any visible signs of distress is evidence that Curare was used. Explain yourself, counsel. The moment this toxin enters a person's system, it causes instant paralysis. In other words, afflicted victims lose all strength and are completely unable to move. Even if they were in total agony, there would be no visible signs of pain at all. How terrible. Obviously, if a man lost all strength in his muscles, he'd collapse on the floor. With a chair under him for support, as Dr. Watson did, the effects could go largely unnoticed. But I don't follow, Kazuma. That's just paralysis. I thought the poison caused instant death. Full explanation is extremely unpleasant. Poison causes immediate paralysis, as I said, leaving the victim unable to move. After a short time, the paralysis is so severe, it causes the muscles to control respiration to fail. Respiration? In other words, the actual cause of death is suffocation. And all the while, the victim is conscious and aware, just unable to move. That's hideous! To the observer, it would look almost like the victim was slipping peacefully into an endless sleep. But for the victim himself, his final moments would be a living hell. That is the true nature of this deadly Curare poison. And you're suggesting that this bottle, Counsel, actually contains this terrifying poison? This is all very convenient, isn't it? A hitherto unknown poison for which there is no means of testing. What a happy tale for the defense. Ahem, if I may. All these facts you think you're so clever, but you must be taught some manner. It is you who must be taught. Of course. Dear lady! So, this is how you Japanese behave, is it? What? You steal another's honest hard work and then announce the results as if you discovered them. I'm appalled. What a loathsome act. Well, Miss Brett, the feeling is mutual. Whatever do you mean? Capitalizing on the unfortunate circumstances of an innocent man to frame him for a heinous crime, that really is a loathsome act. Wouldn't you agree? Enough of this. I, for one, refuse to accept it. The idea of some poison that doesn't even exist in the great empire of Japan is breaking the rules. What's so funny? Oh, excuse me, Your Excellency. Yes, Miss Brett? May I borrow that bottle for a moment, please? Well, yes, I don't see, why not? Don't get too big for your boots, you insignificant little island boys. Sorry. Actually, also, I linked to the mod I used in the description. I'm also, in this very episode, I'm gonna link the localization changes. It's also gonna be spoilers for a few later things as well. But I just want to show you how different the dialogue is. To an Englishwoman such as myself, this whole affair is a farcical comedy. Your little police games and these foolish courtroom antics. It's laughable, really. Actually, I guess for the entire series, I'm gonna link also that the localization changes. Just cause, I mean, why not? Same for when I play the Great Ace Attorney 2. I'm getting bored of it all now. It's time for the games to end. Cheers. Wait, what are you doing? No sparkle left at all. How appropriate for this shabby affair. Goodness, whatever is the matter? You all look quite stunned. So, no Curare. The bottle was clean. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
You look quite incredulous, little boy, but of course. That's the simple truth. Thank you for presenting the findings of my research so consciously here, in the grand venue. Most kind.
Ugh.
Thank you, waiter. Now then, Your Excellency.
Yes, Miss Brett?
I should like to be excused now, please. I think I've given more than enough of my time for the furtherance of friendship between our countries.
Yes, dear lady. We are most gratified with all the assistance you have given. This doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. There had to have been poison in that bottle. But how? So how? How did she swallow a whole glass and live to tell the tale? I don't understand it.
Well, I suppose if nothing else, this little Far Eastern charade will make for interesting conversation at the next party I attend in London.
There has to have been poison in that bottle, doesn't there?
There can't have been, because otherwise she would have keeled over dead.
Come on, Ryunosuke. We have all the clues now. A bottle of water. The culprit did put Curare poison into Dr. Watson's carbonated water. Defense refuses to change its position. You serious?
Fool! Are you blind? There's no possible way that poison bottle could contain poison. I mean, we just saw.
Miss Brett drinking the water from it?
That's right. Which rather complicates your argument, I think.
I believe that complication can be explained.
How exactly?
I need to think through all the things that don't quite add up here, one by one. I'm sure the answer is in the evidence we have in the court record somewhere. It has to be. Very well. If the defense truly intends to assert this claim, then I must ask you to support the assertion with evidence. What explains how the witness was able to consume this supposedly poisoned water unscathed? The answer to this riddle is right here in Miss Brett's own research report.
That's not a valid explanation.
No?
After all, we don't speak English. That report is utter gibberish. It's impudent young scoundrel trying to ridicule the court, Your Excellency.
I'm not trying to ridicule anyone, honest. I'm just reading Susato-san's notes. I concur. This report is too extensive to be considered in its entirety by the court. You will direct us to the pertinent section, Counsel. Which section of the report reveals the alleged answer to this riddle? We've been hearing a lot about this Curare poison. And it's left me curious about something. Oh, Counsel? Well, it sounds as though indigenous hunters have been using this poison for years and years to lace the heads of the arrows that they shoot at whatever prey they're hunting. So we've been led to believe, yes. And the point of hunting is to catch prey to eat.
Get to the point, please.
But if they were to use these lace arrows, doesn't that mean there would be traces of poison left in the prey the hunters are going to eat? Yes, good point. So surely the hunters wouldn't want to eat their prey, would they? Because then they'd be eating poison.
Good gracious, Counsel, no, that would be madness.
But I actually found the answer to that conundrum in this research paper here. Under special characteristics, it says this. The poison starts to work after entering the body through a wound. Through a wound, you say? I see, that makes sense. Yes, the mention of that particular detail seemed a little strange to me, though. But it all makes sense when you interpret it what's written like this. When Curare enters the body through an open wound, it has terrifying poisonous effects. However, when it enters the body via the mouth, it has no poisonous effects whatsoever. What? Miss Brett, you authored this research. You knew Curare's special characteristics, and you knew that you could make a spectacle of drinking that water without any danger to yourself.
You meddling little rapscallion!
Yeah, you can imagine she said a much different word. Well, Ryunosuke, it turns out you're an even better lawyer than I thought you'd be. Really? Me? A lawyer?
This poison talk is fascinating, I'm sure, but I fail to see how it possibly... So, the ill-bred little puppy is a new toy to play with, some facts he read in a book. But I'm afraid knowledge doesn't suit you, little boy. It only makes you look silly.
What are you trying to say?
Your schoolboyish logic is a fatal flaw.
Schoolboyish? Flaw?
As even your brain has managed to deduce, Curare is safe to ingest. Seems likely that its effect are neutralized by the acidic nature of the gastric succus.
Oh, yes. Well, of course. Gastric suckers, what are they?
So if this lethal poison is completely harmless when drunk, the professor wouldn't have died when he swallowed it, would he?
Ah, that's right. Good gracious.
That's basic science. Science that even a schoolboy should be able to understand, no?
Order. Order in the court. Order. The logic holds. If the lady and the professor drank the same poison, they would be affected in the same way. Are you trying to suggest?
Yes, Curare poison is completely irrelevant to the case on trial. That's right. Surely even a little cockroach like you could understand something as simple as that.
What is this welling up inside me? I've never felt like this before. It's a sort of conviction to break down all the discrepancies. It's so intense. It's so intense, almost rage-like. And more than anything else, it's an animalistic desire to take down my prey. Hear how fucking good this song is? Here's finally the objection theme. The rest of you are just hearing like the main theme. Here's the fucking objection theme, finally. And it's so fucking good. I don't think so, Miss Giselle Brett.
How dare you use that tone with me?
You know very well that there is no fatal flaw here. You know exactly why, even though both you and the victim swallowed the same poison. You are alive, and Dr. Watson is dead. Counsel, I'm sure I don't need to remind you. You must provide compelling evidence, as we now know that this poison is completely harmless when ingested. Why would Dr. Watson alone have been killed by the Curare?
Could I?
You have to hear is how different he is now with him actually finally saying objection and take that. As Miss Brett so readily pointed out, she drank the same water as the professor. However, there was a fundamental and fatal difference between the two diners. A fatal difference? The toxic effects of Curare are only felt when the poison enters the body through an open wound. So for a healthy person with no injuries, drinking it is completely harmless. But what if there was a wound inside the mouth of the person drinking the poison water? Inside? Yes, like the wound you might have if you had just been to the dentist and had a tooth extracted, for example. Miss Brett, you have acknowledged many times in your testimony already that you were well aware of Dr. Watson's dental appointment that day. So that's it. Now you use that knowledge to orchestrate this. Little. Is she laughing?
I don't like to repeat myself, but honestly I can't resist. These childish courtroom games and your half-baked arguments are also puerile.
What do you mean?
Don't worry, little schoolboy. You'll find out soon enough. You see, when you leave vital evidence lying around, you never know what might happen to it.
No!
I mean, it could just slip. Oh dear, how careless of me. I'm afraid some crucial evidence may have just been tragically destroyed.
No! What is it? What just happened? This English woman, she just smashed that bottle. And in the Supreme Court, what a terrible blunder. Officer, what are you waiting for? Collect up as much of the water from that broken bottle as possible at once.
You're wasting your time. This delightful carpet under my feet here was a gift from the British Empire. I assure you it will soak up the water beautifully. You have neither the technology nor the presence of mind to recover it.
Ah ha ha ha! How could you? You won't get away with this.
You can thump the bench and shout as much as you like, little boy. I'm afraid we'll never know now, will we? If it really was poison in the bottle, or not.
You.
Let us not forget, we still have some very compelling evidence left intact. Isn't that right, counsel for the prosecution?
Yeah, the case isn't over even after she fucking destroys evidence.
I'll get into it at the end of this case, don't worry.
Ah, of course, you're referring to this photographic print, I presume, dear lady.
That's right, and really, looking at this photograph, it's as clear as day, isn't it? The poor professor was sitting with his back to me. So, of course, the only person who could have shot him from the front is the little schoolboy.
No, you killed the victim that day, using Curer. And then, in order to frame Uranosuke Naruhodo for the crime, you waited until he picked up the pistol you had arranged for him to find on the floor, before you shot the professor's dead body in the chest with your own hidden gun. Then, in the confusion that followed, all you have to do is turn the dead professor in his chair around. You see, you had every opportunity to commit this crime.
What a wonderful imagination you have, young man. A hidden gun, you say? And I shot the professor's dead body, did I? Well, I'm terribly sorry, but you don't have a shred of evidence.
Exactly.
As you have nothing to support your wild claims, the prosecution's stance remains unchanged. The victim, Dr. John H. Watson, was killed by a gunshot to the chest. Delivered in cold blood by the accused Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
It's unbelievable. How can this be happening? We had her, but now, is she really gonna get away with it? We should destroy the evidence was obscene. Ryunosuke. Yes, we've come this far, but now you're the only one who can finish it. What do you mean? We've lost a vital piece of evidence, it's true. So if there are any clues left for us to use now, it must be in your head. In my head? You told me before that your powers of observation were the one thing you could really depend upon. Well, yes, that's true, but I didn't manage to notice that this woman was a foreigner with a swan on her head. So think back again now. Try to remember every last detail about the scene that day. Everything you saw, everything you felt, every color, every smell. What I saw, what I felt. Every color. This is such a fucking stupid part of the trial. Is Kazuma right? Somewhere in the vibrant memory of this same scene in my head. Could there be another clue to expose the identity of Dr. Watson's killer? Actually, Kazuma, I think I might have something. Thinking back over everything I saw, I think I might have uncovered another clue. Huh, you always have something up your sleeve, don't you, Ryunosuke? Come on then, let's wipe the smug smile off the Englishwoman's face with some evidence. Alright, I can't wait. It's been niggling me for a while as something feels amiss in my memories of that day. Hopefully auto subs don't change that to something else. Please don't. If anything, I'll probably think I'm saying giggling. Whatever it is could be the key to arrive at the truth about all this. It's here somewhere. The clue that should show Dr. Watson's real killer must have been... Inspector Hosonaga, answer me this. Yes? What is it? Oh, he's still miles away. Probably thinking about that bottle being smashed. As you said a number of times now, you strive for perfection in your investigations, don't you? Absolutely. I wonder, therefore, if perhaps you took anything else from the scene of the crime. Like, for instance, a plate of steak that you took to the victim's table that day.
Wait a minute. Where are you going with this, little boy?
It's just a memory that's been troubling me.
What memory?
I saw the scene shown in this photographic print with my own eyes that day. I saw that on the wooden base of the plate that the steak was served on, it was a spattering of blood.
What? Oh really, and what of it? Obviously that must have happened when you shot the professor.
No, that can't be the case. Take a good look at the photograph and the relative position of everything there. The plate of steak is almost directly behind the victim. If I'm supposed to have shot Dr. Watson in the chest from the front, there's no way that blood from the victim could have ended up directly behind him. Yes. The blood that made it onto the plate implies the plate was between the victim and the shooter, which means the shooter must have been sitting opposite to the professor, as you were. Giselle Brett.
I beg your pardon? This is beyond ridiculous, fabricated nonsense. Is the court seriously expected to believe something the accused had apparently just remembered seeing? Mata!
Yeah, you get to hear that now. Oh, him. Never mind. This. Hey, I forgot he had a voice line. Whoopsie. This could be the moment that my entire career in the police force has been leading to. Inspector, you mean? Yes, I took the plate, in the interest of preserving evidence from the scene of the crime. I took it, meat and all. I don't care if they call me a crime scene thief because of it.
You did what?
I took the steak that you'd been eating, Miss Brett. I took the steak that the sergeant had been eating. And I did it all, in the name of justice. Then we can find out for sure whether or not there's a bloodstain on Miss Brett's plate. We must examine it, now. Inspector, the court wishes to examine the plate from the victim's table immediately.
Yes, sir.
Sorry for the delay. Here's what you ordered. The steak. Oh, what about the blood? Is there blood on it?
Of course there isn't.
Quickly, Inspector, the blood, man. Show the court.
Of course, examine that plate at your leisure.
No, no blood. No blood anywhere. But no, that's
impossible! I know I saw it. I'm sure of it.
It was right there on the table behind the professor. There was blood on the side of the plate.
What an unbecoming expression, little boy. You see, this is why I always say you can't trust what the Japanese tell you. I couldn't agree more in the case of this disgrace to the Empire.
I believe we may finally have reached a conclusion in this trial.
Let's hope so. Let's pretend attempted. Courtroom proceedings is painful to watch, but I do promise to do my best to forget all about it when it's over. This sorry-looking steak reveals the facts all too clearly. If the sorry-looking accused wishes to examine it again, be my guest.
The plate I saw or thought I saw is just a figment of my imagination. Examine it right now.
Huh? What in the world is this?
I think it's a Koban coin. The hallmark is from the Hoi era, I believe.
No, I don't mean what is it. I mean, what's it doing there?
Wait, did you say it was a Hoi Koban? Yes, and apart from the meat juices, it looks to be in good condition. I imagine it's very valuable. And this isn't the first time today that there's been talk of the Hoi Koban. Heard of pearls before swine, but I've never heard of bullion and bullion. That's a good line. I don't think you ever will again. It's extraordinary, though. This means... Yeah, just to say, this is it now. I've lost. Ryunosuke. It's not over yet. Not until the final gavel. Hmm? Never stop believing in yourself. Keep looking forward, no matter what. Believe in myself, really? Maybe I should at least examine the evidence for myself. As the evidence requested by the defense has not been shown to be problematic in any way, I presume any further examination of evidence in this trial will be unnecessary. Does the defense have any objection? But the bloodstain was going to clinch the trial for me. Can this plate of steak really reveal any other clues at all? Your Excellency, please wait. This plate of beef is hiding another clue. Another clue that will reveal the shocking truth. The only thing that's shocking here is your unhealthy fascination with beefsteak. Your Excellency, I think I've made myself clear, haven't I? I will not be able to turn a blind eye to any more unnecessary procrastination in this trial. I'm sorry, Miss Brett, but we must ensure a thorough examination of the evidence. I will not give a ruling until I'm completely satisfied that all reasonable doubt has been dispelled. I see. As a newly affirmed ally of my country, that's still your position, is it? Thank you, Your Excellency. Counsel for the defense, you will now clearly show the court to what you are alluding. Or precisely on this plate of beefsteak is this new clue to be found. Alright, it's supposed to be here, you show it, whatever. I did it a bit too early, whoopsie, whatever. Crocodile! Crocodile! Good gracious, that's... Koban? What on earth? A Hawaii arrow one at that. Miss Brett, this is in fact the beefsteak that you ordered at the restaurant on the day in question, is it? Tell me, why is your an old coin seemingly hidden underneath the meat? What a ridiculous question. How should I know? I've never seen that thing before in my life. I don't know what this is, but I want no part of it. I fail to see how this is relevant. A coin under the meat? That could simply have been a careless mistake by the chef in a moment of distraction. Don't be absurd. We're supposed to believe that this happened by accident in the kitchen? Where Koban just happens to be underneath a piece of steak? If this turns out to be irrelevant to the case, I'll rip up my ticket to Great Britain right now. He's right. Can't be a coincidence. Your Excellency? Yes, Counsel? A rare Hawaii Koban just happens to be hidden underneath that piece of steak? If this turns out to be irrelevant to the case, I'll give up my lawyer job right now. By all means, don't let us stop you. No one invited you anyway. Perhaps, little boy, you should realize that it is you who is irrelevant. Even though I'm the one on trial here. The point is, it's essential that we ask the owner of this coin if we can explain what it's doing under that steak. The owner? Yes, it's obvious. There's only one person it can belong to. The owner of the Koban that was found underneath the beefsteak is... Obviously, can only be the antiques dealer and owner of Rasute, Kyoryo Korokuta-san. Kuri, as in Mr. Cucumber something. Honestly, these ridiculous Japanese names are quite unfathomable. Unfathomable. Ah, yes. The old man who testified earlier alongside the military sergeant, correct? Yes, Your Excellency. I remember him saying that he was up to something with the Koban coin when it happened, at exactly the moment the gun was fired. The gunshot interested me not. I was far too busy on the floor. Too busy on the floor? Sorry, what were you doing? Hunting for treasure. Indeed, the Hawaii era Koban, my prized coin. in this Hoei-era Koban. Do you mean to tell me?
No, please. Why would Kodakuta-san's Koban be sandwiched between the victim's beefsteak and its plate? It makes no sense.
Which is why I'm asking to bring Kodakuta-san back to the witness stand so we can ask him. Officer, bring both witnesses that testified earlier back in here. Without a moment's delay. I can't believe we've come back around to that pair again. But I have a hunch, a strong hunch, that if we chase down the real significance of this Koban, we'll find that it's a key element in the case.
What's this all about? Why have I been called up again?
Don't you realize that it's dinner time for little baby Ido?
And when my son's belly is empty, he's fiercer than a pack of wolves. Exploited by the police, we were, like miserable dogs, forced to bear false witness. Then, when cast from this courtroom, I became a ruined man in a trice, a worthless, withered antique. Nothing more I have to say. The sun has set on this Rasute shop owner's existence.
Be that as it may, Kodakuta-san, something has come to the light that requires your clarification. As far as your Rasute memory serves, have you ever seen this Koban
Ah!
in his fucking foot?
Yeah, that's it, that one, the very exact one that it is. The splendiferous Hawaii treasure that my rusty bones managed to misplace that fateful day. It can't be.
Get it? As I thought.
Young man, enlighten this decrepit old fool. Put me out of my misery. Where was my treasure? Where was it dropped?
Oh, not sure if it was dropped anywhere. We found your coin sandwiched between a beefsteak and its plate, soaking in the seasoned meat's juices.
Sandwich? Soaking? Seriously?
Clearly, it couldn't have fallen there by accident, which means someone must have hidden it there on purpose.
Somebody concealed my Hawaii treasure between a slab of meat and a metal plate. Who would do such a thing? Such an unconscionable thing.
Excuse me. Can I say something? Yes, of course. Proceed, Inspector Hosonaga. I mentioned this earlier on in the trial, but I was working undercover in the restaurant in order to investigate another case.
Oh yes, that's right. There's the secret undercover operation.
Le Carnival is a high-class Western cuisine restaurant. It attracts wealthy diners, including many foreigners. Recently, there's been a run of similarly executed thefts targeting the restaurant's rich clientele. A number of such incidents have been reported to the police bureau. Wicked crimes indeed. We wanted to nip the case in the bud quickly, especially with so many foreigners being affected. So that's why you were sent in undercover, is it?
Yes, I took on the job of waiter at the restaurant in order to flush out the criminal. It seems likely that this Koban incident is the work of the same thief.
So unbeknownst to us, there was a master thief at work in the restaurant on a regular basis. The place is already the scene of several crimes, it seems. I don't know about the master thief part, but the identity of the person who stole and hid Kodakuta-san's Koban is all too clear.
What?
I think the court would like to hear the defense's view on this matter. Tell us, who is the despicable scoundrel that stole Kodakuta-san's Koban and hid it under the steak?
Obviously, can only be you. Sergeant Yesa Nosa. What? How? How dare you monster!
Monster?
I stole that Koban, did I? I'm the master thief of Le Carnival, am I? You're seriously accusing me of these crimes, cadet? But it wasn't me, it was Ido. Ido's the mastermind behind all this.
You would push the blame for your crimes onto your own son, an innocent little baby? It's you who's the monster, Sergeant Nosa. Ah! Clippity clop, clippity clop, clippity clop, clippity clop, clippity clop, clippity clop. Grah! And the baby just fucking broke his back. That was a fun little breakdown right there. A series staple. Breakdowns. This is the first one in this game, and it's great. Nippon Imperial Army, searching yes or no, sir. Preparing to stand down in the Supreme Court, sir. Do any of you know of the extraordinarily low wages the Nippon Imperial Army pays to those it expects to keep our country safe? I understand that the temporary increase in taxation owing to the recently ended conflicts remains in place. I have heard it's hard for lower-ranking soldiers to make a living, yes. All I want is to put a hot meal on the table for my son. That's why you were stealing things at the restaurant? The place is heaving with money. Every 3 days I'd go there and do reconnaissance for a target. And I enjoy chomping my way through a good steak at the same time. Sounds like he doesn't bother with a knife and fork even, which is worryingly believable. The target that day was the old man and his koban. The target that day was the old man and his koban. Yes, sir. He was an easy mark. I slipped the coin into my pocket without any trouble at all. Veritable phantom thief you are. I was all set to leave the steak I was halfway through devouring when it happened. Yes, when the professor was shot. I knew that if the police conducted a search and found the coin in my pocket, I'd be finished. I'd know too, so I hid the incriminating evidence as fast as I could, on the double. I slipped it under the steak, hoping that I'd be able to rendezvous with it again at a later date. This is ridiculous. Perhaps you could carry on with this absurd prattling in your own time. Well, Miss Brett. Oh, of course, dear lady. Of course. How rude of us. I'm quite sure there's no need to detain you any longer at all. May the esteemed gentlewoman please be excused, Your Excellency. Indeed. The theft of the koban was cruelly perpetrated by this baby-saddled sergeant, which certainly appeared to be unrelated to Dr. Watson's murder. Of course it is. Hiding a coin under a lump of meat, the sheer nonsense of such an idea astounds me. Nonsense, is it? Well, oof. And as for picking up your steak and biting into it without using a knife and fork, it's beyond nonsense. It's pure madness. They really changed that fucking line. Very well, now all the questions concerning this witness's testimony have been answered. I see no further justification for detaining her. Miss Brett, you are free to leave. Thank you, Your Excellency. Good luck, everyone. And good day. Ryunosuke, what's the matter with you? There's no time for daydreaming. Oh no, it's just something about Miss Brett's parting words there got me thinking. Can't quite work out what exactly, but something she said jarred with me. Feels like there was a contradiction in there somewhere. Something that didn't quite add up. If that's the case, don't just stand there thinking. Make your voice heard. Sorry? You can think later, but if you don't call out now, it'll be too late. The trial will be over. Wait, Miss Brett. What is it now? I'm afraid, just one last time, something I'd like to ask you. I'd like you to explain the contradiction in your parting words from just a few moments ago. What are you talking about? What contradiction? What new student nonsense is this? What parting words are you talking about, Ryunosuke? Hiding a coin under a lump of meat. The sheer nonsense of such an idea astounds me. And as for picking up your steak and biting into it without using a knife and fork, it's beyond nonsense. It's pure madness. Yes, I'm right. What she said there exposed an undeniable contradiction. Going to need to see evidence, counsel. Miss Brett's words are truly contradictory. Where is the evidence to prove it? You present either this or this plate of steak. A photographic print of the scene taken immediately after the incident occurred. What's interesting is the plate of steak that you can see on the victim's table. Steak that Miss Brett had been eating before the professor was killed. Yes, go on. More accurately, Your Excellency, the steak that was on the victim's table just before the professor was killed.
Now you're splitting hair. Now you're just splitting hairs.
Not true. Doesn't something about the steak strike you as a very unnatural?
Unnatural? What on earth do you mean?
It's extremely obvious. I'm talking about the shape of the edge where it's been eaten. So you've noticed it too, Miss Brett. Noticed what exactly, counsel? Just a few moments ago, Miss Brett claimed no Englishman could even contemplate picking up a steak and biting into it without using a knife and fork.
Of course she did. She's a fine English gentlewoman herself.
Then take a good look at the steak, in particular the edge where it's been eaten. As you can see, there are clearly defined barbaric teeth marks there. Yeah, that's a line they fucking cut out. Well, there's more of it, but like, yeah. It's like, they pretended they still wrote that fucking line, even though they replaced it. It's so stupid. Localizers, come on. Looks like Miss Brett has realized something. So, if the witness that she claims wouldn't contemplate eating anything without using a knife and fork, there shouldn't be teeth marks in the steak at all.
But what is your actual point? Perhaps the delightful Miss Brett was ravenously hungry and couldn't help her. Oh, whatever you say, dear lady. As I said, I really must be leaving now. Afternoon tea with the Minister of Justice cannot possibly wait any longer. Of course, though this will all be over in the blink of an eye. Rest assured, I'm about to put this rookie in its place. Just leave everything to... I've heard enough! You irritating little spectacled samurai relic. Oh, of course. Dear lady!
What's the matter, Miss Brett? Have you ruffled your feathers? Clearly, the witness knows what this means. She's realized the catastrophic implications these teeth marks in the steak have for her. Ryunosuke, do you know where you're going with this? Yes. Now at last, it's all come together. The mysterious teeth marks in the steak that had allegedly been eaten with cutlery. The reason why the bloodstain I know I saw somehow seems to have disappeared. And most importantly, the evidence that proves once and for all who shot Dr. Watson that day. Except that these teeth marks in the steak are a little unnatural, as you put it, counsel. But what exactly are you suggesting that tells us? Everything, Your Excellency.
Everything?
Yes, I believe that these barbaric teeth marks in the steak here amount to conclusive evidence in this case. Evidence that will prove beyond any doubt who shot Dr. Watson.
Conclusive evidence? How many times have I heard that today? You wouldn't know the meaning of the phrase. Typical Japanese empty threats.
How can you be so sure?
Oh, it's quite simple. If you really had such conclusive evidence, you would have presented it to the court long ago.
Actually, the evidence I'm talking about hasn't been brought before the court yet.
Hasn't been? What?
But just because it hasn't been shown yet, doesn't mean that the evidence does not exist.
This is absurd. The trial has run several hours already, and you said there's evidence yet to be brought forward? There can't be. I don't believe you have it.
I don't, but there is someone who does have it. Someone in this very courtroom. And if that person is willing to submit that piece of evidence I'm referring to, it will solve every remaining mystery about this case. Very well. I have a feeling this will be my last request of the defense in this trial. Who possesses the conclusive evidence that will reveal the truth about this whole affair? The answer is obvious. Inspector Hosonaga.
What? I have it?
Yes. You think I've been withholding conclusive evidence? That's ridiculous. No, I'm not saying that. Everyone's attention has been focused on the steak with the teeth marks. Yes. Now, earlier this afternoon, Sergeant Nosa told the court the following. I enjoy chomping my way through a good steak, as well as admitting to stealing Kurokura-san's coin. He told us that he slipped it under the steak. You watch it, cadet. I'm a superior officer. Sergeant Nosa, should you please confirm something for me? Was it the steak that you put the coin under, in fact, your own steak? Tension! Affirmative, of course. I might be a soldier in the Imperial Nippon Army, but still. I'm not brave enough to ask a foreign gentle lady if she'd mind me manhandling her meat to hide something in it. In other words, the steak that the detective submitted as evidence earlier was in fact Sergeant Nosa's meal. But that makes no sense. The plate was taken from the victim's table. If the gentlewoman doesn't take bites out of her steak, nor did she have any opportunity to steal a coin. Of course I didn't steal it. To even suggest such a thing would be an affront to the entire British Empire. Well then, how do you explain this paradox? Exactly. Surely you're not going to suggest that the sergeant switched the two steaks over. You did switch the plates. Well, after it happened, when I saw the civilian had been murdered right in front of my eyes like that, I panicked. As I said, I immediately lifted my stick and hid the coin underneath it. Then when the waiter announced he was an undercover policeman, I thought I'd had it. If he decided to investigate my slab of meat, that'd be it. I'd be getting my marching orders. So when the cadet here was arrested and taken off to the kitchen, I seized my chance. With military precision and timing, I switched my steak with the one on the foreign lady's table. What? You can't have. I never saw you do such a thing. It was called Operation Lightning Bolt. There was no time for strategic planning. It was do or die, I tell you. So yes, I did what had to be done. Unbelievable! However, fear not, Prosecutor-san. Son? What now? I swore on the brass buttons of my uniform. That is all I did, sir. All you did? That's plenty, Sergeant. So, Sergeant Nosa switched the plates over. It means he took Miss Brett's steak and the plate it was on back to his own table. Yes, that follows. Inspector Hosonaga. Yes? Earlier in this trial, you told the court this. You said that you had not only taken Miss Brett's steak after the incident, but also the sergeant's. That, to preserve evidence, you had taken both. Ah! That's correct. Then please present it to the court now. Letting the song play out. Oh my god, this song's so fucking good. One of the best Pursuit themes in the entire series. Yeah, Pursuit theme's also a common trend with this series. When you're pretty much putting an end to it. Rejection theme is like your character theme, you know, you found a contradiction, blah, blah, blah. This is when you're putting an end to it. The plate that was actually on the victim's table at the precise moment he was shot. What can that possibly tell us now? I mean, a cold slab of tough meat, it can't have the slightest bearing on the case. No, you're not wriggling your way out of it this time, lady. I beg your pardon? Surely you're not that forgetful. Surely you remember the reason why the steak pan promises to prove such a problem for you, no? You're the ones who decided it was a problem, not me. The reason the defense asked to see that plate was to confirm something the defendant remembers seeing. Thinks he remembers? I'm quite sure of what I saw, Miss Brett. You'd fucking think Hosonaga would have noticed that and then been like, why is there blood on this plate? Fucking idiot. On the side of the plate that was on the table directly behind Dr. Watson, there was a clear spattering of blood from the gunshot wound to the victim's chest. I believe the defendant's memory serves him well. And now we have the evidence to prove it. The plate you were eating from, Miss Brett. Let us not prolong this any further. Inspector, you will show the evidence to the court. Rather than present the beefsteak and plate that was originally on the victim's table at the time of the incident. Yes, sir. Sorry for keeping you. Here is the other steak in its plate. Please, feel free to examine it. The bloodstain. It's clearly visible, look. Clearly visible, yet you didn't bother to mention that when you're talking about the other steak plate. Fucking idiot. Now this makes everything clear. The blood you can see on the side of the plate shows that at the moment the victim was shot, he was facing the table with his back to me. In other words, it's impossible for Naruhodo-san to have shot the victim. Ah, it can't be. In fact, there's only one person who could possibly have shot Dr. Watson from the front. I'm sure everyone knows by now who that person is. That's right. Miss Giselle Brett. It's you! Outdone by a Japanese? Me? By a Japanese schoolboy? No, no, no! Kya! And yeah, she's still screaming. I'm not gonna hold it for that long, because I can't. She can scream for a long ass fucking time. Holy shit. That breakdown was fucking great too. Please excuse my little outburst. I briefly lost my composure. It was unbecoming behavior for an English gentlewoman. Forgive me. Well, Miss Brett, I think it's time you told the court what actually happened that day. The truth, this time. Gladly, Your Excellency. It was I who took the professor's life. He was in Cure. As you surmise, I chose that particular day for one very important reason. The professor had a dental appointment for the extraction of one of his teeth in the morning. So you planned to kill the professor, knowing that no trace of poison would be found in his water, because Cure is unheard of here in Japan. Yes. Of course, I never intended to remain at the restaurant for as long as I did. I only need to see the professor take one tiny sip of his water and it would all be over. I would place the steak I had ordered in front of him to make it appear as though he had been dining alone, and leave immediately. However, before any of that happened, there was an unexpected visitor at the professor's table. That would be me, I suppose. Yes, you. Who else? Such a trifling matter. The fact you decided to come over to greet the professor meant that I had lost my chance to slip away unnoticed. In due course, the professor took a sip of his water and was paralyzed. I made sure he was sitting in his chair such as that he wouldn't fall. There was no going back at that point, so I concocted a plan on the spur of the moment. A plan that pinned Dr. Watson's murder on this innocent man. I happened to know that the professor always carried a gun. I decided to use that fact to my advantage.
I had the bottle of Curare in my handbag. And my own pistol concealed under my skirt.
Under your skirt? Ryunosuke was right then. So I was right, there were 2 guns. Also, you were right, they should have flipped over her fucking dress.
Yes.
And then I finished my coffee and got up to leave. That's when I noticed the professor's gun, which you had presumably placed on the floor. A place where you were sure that I would notice it.
And everything went according to plan. You noticed the gun as I had intended. And then, just as you bent down to pick it up,
That's when you shot the professor with your own gun, even though at that point he was already dead.
naturally, the gunshot caused a commotion, at which point the waiter appeared.
Obviously, I assumed Naruhodo-san was the culprit and apprehended him. I took him to the pantry that adjoins the kitchen and locked him inside.
That's when I took the opportunity to turn the professor in his chair around.
Because of course, you need to make it look like the defendant had shot Dr. Watson from where he picked up the gun.
So there you have it. That is the entirety of my misdemeanor. Your Excellency,
Yes?
I wonder, might I speak with you in private later?
I shall call on you.
Thank you. Good day then, everyone. I hope you can forgive me, Naruhodo-san.
It would seem this trial has finally run its course. I presume the prosecution is in agreement?
This can't be. Takatsuchi Aoshi does not lose. Not to the likes of this rookie student.
You'd better start getting used to tough opposition.
Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
What? Yes?
This insult to the Aoshi family name will never be forgotten.
You've become conceited with age, Council. But the old have to stand aside and make way for the new. It's the way of the world. May you never forget that. He uses a sword in fucking court because he can. That's how badass Asogi is. 1,000 millennia may pass, and still the Aoshi clan will never measure up to the Naruhodo clan. This trial in the Supreme Court of Japan will, I believe, go down in history as the start of a new chapter in our country's judicial system. Despite being summoned as the accused, you, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, presented an excellent case. I thank you, Your Excellency. The use of evidence and deduction to unravel the truth is a modern methodology. After all, it's only been a few short decades since our country has opened its doors to the wider world. The Western ideas of science are rapidly gaining acceptance here. I feel sure that science will bring new methods of investigations and new procedures of justice. New future of law awaits, but what will it look like? I cannot begin to imagine. That is for the young to pursue. Kazuma Asogi. Yes? After this trial, you are set to embark on a journey of discovery to the illustrious British Empire. Learn all you can. Absorb everything of the wider world that you are able to. Do not forget to fulfill the mission imposed upon you. I understand, Your Excellency. What was that about? Why do you look so grave all of a sudden? Nah, never mind. As for you, Ryunosuke Naruhodo? Oh, yes? And you, I sense, how can I put it? Unusual potential. I very much look forward to seeing how you carry that onwards. Thank you, Your Excellency. is time to deliver the final verdict. I hereby find the defendant, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, not guilty. The cherry blossoms fly. This court is now adjourned. So now it's the end of it. 2:46 p.m. I can't believe it. I can't believe what's happened. I made it. I defended myself and made it through that horrendous trial. Ryunosuke, you finally pulled it off. Congratulations. Well, I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you, Kazuma. No, it was a pleasure to watch you at work. So you owe me an extra large sukiyaki from the place on Yume University Street, don't forget. Good afternoon, all your hard work has certainly paid off. Oh, that's Susato, whoopsie. Congratulations to the both of you for proving Naruhodo-san's innocence. Our trusty judicial assistant. You worked hard for that result too, you know. Oh no, I didn't do anything. Thank you so much! We even had that research report of Miss Brett. I don't know how things would have turned out. Your kind words should really be for my father. I was simply doing as he asked. It was his idea for me to go to the university and investigate. Your father? Oh yes, of course. Forgive me for intruding on court proceedings, Your Excellency. Susato Mikotoba, Judicial Assistant to the Defense. Speaking of Mikotoba... Ah, there you are. I believe congratulations are in order. Naruhodo, you did an excellent job. Thank you, Professor. Oh no, it is I who should be thanking you. After all, your efforts to expose the true criminal that took the life of my good friend. Good friend? Yes, you mentioned that before. It was you who actually invited Dr. Watson to Yume University, wasn't it? Yes, that's right. Professor Mikotoba studied overseas himself. He went to study forensic medicine in Great Britain. Presumably, that's when you met Dr. Watson? Exactly. In those days, we worked together in the same hospital. Oh, you worked together? I've never heard you mention that before. Well, it was a long time ago now. Besides, it's your turn, Asogi. Great Britain is a magnificent country. It leads the world in science, medicine, engineering, culture, and of course, in law. Watch and learn, my boy. See what's happening in the world's largest melting pot. I will. I'll learn all that I can. I swear on this, the spirit of the Asogi clan. You're not taking that sword to Great Britain, are you? Of course I am. Japanese men's katana is a soul. This blade shows me where I need to go. It cuts down anything that's in my way. Yes, I've definitely seen how sharp it is already with my own eyes. That reminds me. What's happened to the woman? To Giselle Brett, I mean. After all, she's guilty of murder. Ah yes, her. It's not easy to tell you this, but... What do you mean? Surely she's going to face trial herself now. She's a true culprit, after all. She will be leaving Japan in the very near future. For Shanghai. What, Shanghai? Giselle Brett will not appear in court again in this country, I'm certain of that. What? But why not? It's a matter of consular jurisdiction. A matter of consular jurisdiction. Keep on forgetting who goes up where, fuck. Oh god. Inspector Hosonaga. It was a hard-fought battle in the courtroom today. Very impressive to watch. I must congratulate. But what's all this what's this all about consular jurisdiction? We cannot try this particular foreigner for her crimes here in Japan. What? We can't try her? But then, who? Who's gonna bring her to justice? A British consular court will hear her case somewhere far away, where our voices can't be heard. Why consular court? Professor, I simply don't understand. I thought consular courts were a thing of the past now that we signed the Friendship Treaty. Yes, in normal circumstances, you're right. Then, so long as this is not a serious incident of a highly political nature to our respective governments, they can invoke a consular court just like that. Oh, can't they? Yes, she's a student, but it doesn't justify our governments making secret agreements about her fate, does it? Something strange is going on. So Miss Brett can't be held accountable for her actions here in Japan. I'm afraid that for the young student, today's trial was nothing more than a game all along. There was never any danger of comeuppance for her. I don't believe it. The British government's Foreign Affairs Ministry has demanded that we hand over custody of Miss Brett. We're obviously taking this case of a foreign student committing murder very seriously. It's all going to change from now on. We can make a change. This is a time of great turmoil. This new era heralded by the start of the 20th century. One day I have no doubt that woman will receive the judgment she deserves. Yes, change is coming, and we're the ones driving it. Well, I think that's enough seriousness for now. This calls for a celebratory drink. But Professor, you're right, there's no time for gloomy faces. We should be celebrating Ryunosuke's not guilty verdict. Let's start having some fun. In that case, might I suggest La Carnival? As the head waiter, I should be delighted to provide you with ample food and drink. You're a detective, Hosonaga-san, aren't you? Let's not worry about details for now. Fucking Christ. To La Carnival. Will you accompany us, Professor? Of course. La Carnival's food is second to none. I shall go and attend to the paperwork for Naruto-san's release. Oh yes, thank you. So Giselle Brett won't be tried here. I suppose that means I'll never know. I'll never find out why she killed Dr. Watson. Cosmo? Yes, Ryunosuke? I just wanted to say thanks again, that's all. You really saved my skin today. I didn't do a thing. You were the lawyer in there, weren't you? That defense was all your own work. Your skills made the difference, though. One day, I bet you'll be the best lawyer in the world. I'm not so sure about that. To be honest, something kept occurring to me over and over again during that trial. I couldn't help but thinking that maybe you're the one destined to become a great lawyer, not me. What? Come on, be serious! If I helped you today, it's only right at the very start of the trial. But you have a natural talent for it. For being a defense lawyer, I mean. Oh no, not me. All that tense verbal combat. I never want to go through that again. I never want to go through that ever again. I did what you told me to do, that's all. Because I knew I could trust you. That's the point. Sorry? What do you mean, that's the point? Listen, Ryunosuke. Do you know what the most crucial weapon is that any lawyer needs in order to win? Knowledge of the law? No. The ability to believe. To believe? To believe what? Defense lawyer has to fight for his clients. He has to believe in them at all times. Like you believed in me when I said I didn't do it? I'm human, just like you. I don't have some superhuman ability to know the truth. But you have to make a choice about what to believe in and to stick to when you're defending someone. Sometimes in the courtroom, you can really be backed into a corner. Being able to remain faithful to what you choose to believe in even then, well, that's not something that anyone can do. It takes a special kind of person. Believing in your client. Just look at today's trial. I'm a student lawyer with precious little real experience, but you never stop believing in me. Well, you face seemingly hopeless situations time and again, but you never stop looking for the truth. And in the end, you found it through your own efforts, and because you never stopped believing in me. Thanks, Kazuma. There's something I want to ask you, actually, Ryunosuke. Well, it's a favor, really. Something very important to me. Sounds serious. What is... Ah, you're still here, are you? Oh, Inspector Hosonaga. Arrange some rickshaws for us. Let's go. Thank you. We'll be right here. We'll be right there. Let's pick up this conversation again later. We should be celebrating right now. Your first court victory. And your study tour to Great Britain, don't forget. Oh yes, that too. So my very first trial came to an end. Kazuma. Professor Mikotoba. Susato-san, who acted as my assistant. Inspector Hosonaga, who didn't really play much of a part, but still. Hey, come on. I mean, he was kind of stupid, but whatever. It's because of the help of and support of all these people that I managed to get through that trial. But more importantly, Kazuma hadn't yet managed to ask his favor of me. Little did I realize just how much it would change my life. The end of the first damn trial. So yeah, episode 2, The Adventure of the Unbreakable Speckled Band. We'll talk about that after, but anyway. Talk about it next time. Anyway, so yeah, this trial, I think this is a really good introduction for the setting of this game. You know, it helps develop Ryunosuke a fuck ton. We get to see how much of a badass Asogi is. You know, the tradition of Ouchie, you know, it always happens. He was fun, at least. Giselle Brett was an intimidating villain, at least, for it. The witnesses, you know, kind of just average. Hosonaga is weird, but, you know, he's cool. So yeah, this case was pretty damn good overall for developing characters, developing the setting, but it does not end in a good way whatsoever. Like, who the fuck thought it was a good idea to just be like, you know, let's continue having this be, you know, she breaks the fucking evidence in court. You know, then you have to explore this fucking stake thing, and then Hosonaga for some reason doesn't see that there was a blood stain on one of them and doesn't fucking scratch his head about it. It was like long. This first cases, they tend to not really be that long. They tend to be shorter. The only exceptions to that would be like not even Dual Destinies, like Spirit of Justice in this game have pretty much the longest first cases, and they mostly do not deserve that length. By the way, it's still a good case, you know. Just this is that caveat, you know. So anyway, that's gonna be it for this episode. So next time on the Great Ace Attorney Adventures, we get to take on the second case, and it's quite the special one. Not only because of the characters that show up there, but because of the structure of it. So see you guys next time. Take care.